So you ask yourself, what can I share in my story that's relatable, right? And I tell everyone, at a very young age, I had already took a life. I had already took a life at a very young age. And that stays with you for the rest of your life. Taking someone's life stays with you for the rest of your life. And that continues on. One bad decision is compounded by another bad decision. And it gets there from one small little thing. And that small thing is choices. As you continue making your choices during the ages that you're at right now, that one decision makes another bad decision. That bad decision is compounded by another bad decision. So how is it relatable with someone like myself who continued making bad decisions? So my background is, my grandfather was my bishop. My uncles were my bishop. My friends' dads were my bishop. So I grew up in the church. I had everything in front of me, understanding the gospel, the atonement, everything. For whatever reason, I chose not to grasp it. I chose not to go to it. And the reason that was the people that I surrounded myself with. In my family, I had everyone to allow me to be successful. As a teenager, growing up in Inglewood, California. But growing up in that gang culture in the early 80s, growing up taking a life, you become numb to everything else. You don't listen to your parents. You don't pay attention to seminary. You just go through life like nothing. It was just me continuing down that path. As I continue making bad decision after bad decision, I was arrested at the age of 18 and sentenced to 17 life for a murder, attempted murder with a weapon. At the age of 18, I ended up in Folsom State Prison in California and stayed there till this year. So for 35 years, I was in prison. As I got to prison, I just continued doing everything that I was doing. My parents were going to the temple, praying for me. My grandparents were going to the temple, putting my name in the prayer book. My siblings were going to the temple. My aunts, my uncles, everyone in my family was praying for me to do better, except for me. So when people tell you that the devil is working hard on you, that things are not always going to work out the way they are, those are the times when you have to go back to your foundation. But I will share this with you. My 18 years on the streets and everything I learned from my parents, my grandparents, and my family members allowed me to survive 35 years in prison. I shared that with the missionaries. I explained to the elders, I said, you guys have been taught for 18 years, and it literally allowed you to go on your mission for 2 years. I said, the difference is my 18 years on the streets from my parents, my grandparents, and my family gave me the same strength to survive 35 years in prison. And if you ask yourself, how's that possible? I'll share this with you. Every time in prison, I had to make a decision that was defining, and a decision where I came into the fork in the road. The first thing that popped in my head was choose the right. Where do you get that from? That is something that is instilled in you as a child from primary. And I share that today because it's those type of things while I was in prison that kept coming back to me. My whole time in prison, I never read the Book of Mormon. I did not read the Book of Mormon until I met my fiance, Popo. That she challenged me. I don't like to use the word she told me. She challenged me to read the Book of Mormon. She challenged me to pray every day. And it goes back again to these simple, small things of humbling yourself. And I never humbled myself in prison. It's when I finally humbled myself to ask the Lord to forgive me. Because when Popo first told me about the atonement, I was like, I'm pretty sure that murder is a commandment. Thou shalt not murder. But once they explained the restored gospel once they explained the atonement, it gave me faith to want to try something different. And for the first time, I humbled myself and I prayed. For the first time, we fasted. I think those small things end up leading to bigger things. Those bigger things are blessings. Growing up, I never understood what a blessing was. It was until me and Popo, we got out here, and there's certain things that occurred that we couldn't understand. You know, we were in the American Fork Ward, and I told Popo, I said, man, I feel stagnant over here. I don't feel like I'm being challenged. And our neighbors, May and Mella, were like, hey, come to the Orem 8th Ward. Because we had just moved to Vineyard. So I told Popo, all right, let's go. I just looked at Popo, I said, we good right here. We went and met the bishop. When we met Benny, we knew that type of energy, that's how we roll. That's how we do. We like that energy. We like to be challenged. Being in the Orem 8th, it's just been awesome, man. I don't know how to explain it, man, but I feel like I'm home. You know, I'm a Cali kid, you know, LA kid, but I can tell you right now, man, I rep that Orem 8th. You know, so every time I see the youth and in the hallways or whatever, it's nostalgic for me because I see myself in these kids. You know, again, I'm 54 years old, but I still see myself in those kids because I know the potential that the youth have. I know the greatness that they have, and I know what they're capable of, especially here in Utah. You know, I did 6 months out there in LA, and I'm gonna tell you right now, kids out there are struggling, man. And it broke my heart. But coming out here, there's so many opportunities for the youth here with the SOAR program at BYU, just the numerous possibilities that these kids have now. It's beautiful to see here. I wish I could just bring all the youth from LA and bring them here to Orem 8th, man. But I know that's not possible. Or is it? I'm just saying, I've learned that anything is possible. If I was able to get out of prison after 35 years, you can't tell me it's not possible. You know, this is something I'm passionate about. I'm extremely passionate about the youth. I'm extremely passionate about the success and the failures of what goes on, man.
So, what is the good news about the 35 years, and what did you learn?
I'm going to be honest right now, and I want you to hear me out. I believe in my heart that I was supposed to be in prison for 35 years because I didn't appreciate nothing. I didn't appreciate my parents. I didn't appreciate my grandparents. I didn't appreciate my siblings, my relatives. 35 years in prison made me appreciate all that. It made me appreciate life. It made me appreciate my fiance, my bishop, my friends. I'm grateful. When I say I'm grateful, I'm just so appreciative. So after my 35 years in prison, I did 8 months in ICE. I ended up winning my case. I got out from ICE in Denver, Colorado, in the Aurora ICE Processing Center. I got out March 1st. We were at the Sheridan West by LAX on Century. And I got to see my mom, my dad, all my siblings, and their husbands and wives, and seen a lot of friends on March 1st. 2 days later, my mom passed away on March 3rd at the hotel at the Sheridan West. Those 2 days were the best 2 days of my life. I got to hug my mom, and I got to tell her everything I wanted to. So when I tell you the Lord is passionate, when the Lord is forgiving, the Lord is understanding. I tell people the Lord didn't take me away from my mom for 35 years. I did that. But the Lord blessed me with 2 days, 2 beautiful days with my mom, where My mom got to clown me for 2 days, where she got to, literally just dig into me. Thank you. Those are the things you miss. You don't really understand what's important in your life until it's gone. So when I say that those were the 2 best days of my life, man, I was a kid again. I was an 18-year-old kid again with my mom. When I got there, the first thing I asked my mom is, Mom, what do you want to eat? She was like, I want the chili fries from Jim's. I said, on 111th and Inglewood Avenue? Got you. It was like I was a kid again, man. Those 2 days restored my faith. I already had my faith, but it restored my faith even stronger. Because for the first time, I really understood that I'm going to see her again. For the first time. I knew I was going to see my mom again. The funny thing is, all my aunts and uncles were paranoid because they thought I was going to revert to my old ways. So everybody was contacting my siblings to keep an eye on me. Don't let him go back to the hood. He might do something. I was like, I ended up talking to my auntie Tinalahi and Tinola. I said, hey, I'm good. You guys, I'm all right. They're like, no, we want to make sure. I said, hey, God is good, man. He blessed me with 2 days with my mom, and now I really understand the plan of salvation. It made me appreciate everything that me and Papa was learning. It made me appreciate that I saw myself being baptized again back in the church. It made me appreciate me and Popo getting married. It made me appreciate us getting sealed eventually in the temple. You know, and I tell people, that's what my mom's death did for me. It made me reestablish my faith in the church, in the gospel, in the prophet. It just made everything clear. So there was clarity now. I was able to see things. Things were structured for me.
So when did you feel yourself shift?
The Spirit's always been with me. I just never listened. The Spirit would tell me go left, I go right. The Spirit would say, be still, Wes, and I keep it moving. Everything changed for me February 22nd, 2008. My younger brother, George, passed away out here in West Valley. For me, everything changed because all that time in prison, the gang lifestyle is something that I promoted, that I fostered, that I encouraged while I was in prison. Selling drugs, everything that has to do with the gang lifestyle. I was walking around in the yard. They said, Tuiasoa, you have a phone call with your counselor. Everybody on the yard knows when you get that phone call, a family member passed away. I wasn't thinking it was my brother George. I was thinking it was probably my mom or dad. So when I walked over there, it was my sister Kawata that was on the phone. She says, Wes. I said, hey, what's going on? She goes, it's George. George just passed away. I was like, what happened? He had gone to a car accident. He was with some friends. It was the first time I was scared in prison. I'm not trying to sound like no tough guy or anything, but there's a certain mentality you have to survive in there. 2008, February 22nd, was the first time I was scared. I felt like a piece of me died. And I've never felt that before. So what do you do when you feel like a piece of you dies? Do what you were taught as a child. You get on your knees and you pray. First time I ever had that feeling. So when you're living a life that is not aligned with everything you've been taught as a child, you start thinking different. You start doing things different. I didn't know how to deal with that type of pain. So I just numbed myself. You know, whether it was smoking, drinking, I didn't know how to deal with it. I was going through depression. I was dealing with PTSD on the inside. I was dealing with all that. But on the outside, I looked like I was normal. When you hear people say they were shook to the core, I can actually tell you I was shook to the core, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to deal with it. What do hurt people do? Hurt people hurt people. And that's what I continued doing. I ended up in the hole, I think, for 6 years. I was in the hole from 2008 to almost 2013, 5-6 years. But when I got out the hole in 2013, that's when I started doing things different. It was the first time I was actually trying to go home. My parents were getting a little older. I could see it. I could hear it. So I knew it was time to make a change. And the first change I did was I became sober. I stopped drinking, smoking. And who would have known that when you stop drinking and smoking, you can make better decisions? That's crazy. I could see clear. And I just started making better decisions and decided to take some groups, take AA, NA, anger management, criminal thinking. And got all these classes under my belt and started just regulating my emotions. Took a bunch of cognitive behavioral theory classes, and just everything just kind of just started snowballing into positive. As I changed my life, the only thing that I was missing was the faith. I had worked on everything, worked on my emotions, dealing with my anger. But the only part that was missing was the faith. So I'm sitting in my cell one day on my cell phone, and a Tongan girl pops up on my messenger. That would be Popo. So now you know the story how we met. It was a blessing. Her coming into my life was a blessing because I needed something to steer me in the right direction. And that's what she was, steering me in the right direction. I noticed that every time I listen to her, everything goes smooth. Every time I try to do it my way, there's a little bump here and there's a little... And I'm like, babe, what do you want me to do? She's like, just do it this way. I said, okay, I'll do it that way. So, Bishop, I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. I'm learning as I go. So I was sharing this with Fango, right? As like, when she was talking about the vision board. Unbeknownst to me, I had a vision board in my cell. Prison cells, the guys put a bunch of pictures up there. Bunch of pictures. But I was the only one that would put pictures up of scenery. I like seeing the mountains. I like seeing the beach. So I was telling Fun, I was like, hey, I had vision boards on my wall. Because I was always being clowned. Bro, what's up with that? Why you got that on your wall? Bro, I'm going to be there one day. I'm going to be on that beach in Hawaii. And lo and behold, about 8 weeks ago, I was in Laie, Hawaii. I was out there for the 60th anniversary of the Polynesian Culture Center. Allowing that vision board to allow your mind to expand, to look into something deeper. I seen that. I seen the beach in Hawaii. I got to see the mountains. You know, I had a lot of scenery of mountains with snow. Popo's house right there in PG. The G is right there. So I'm looking at the mountain like every day. So these things that I had put up on the wall, but not really understanding they were vision boards. I had vision boards while I was in prison. I didn't want to look at the walls. I wanted to see some type of color. I wanted to see scenery. I guess I've always had vision boards.
Awesome. We can learn from the past. Sparky Anderson, a great baseball manager for the Detroit Tigers and the Cincinnati Reds, He said, I've never worried about the past. There's no future in it. What is your future, and what is your YFOG going to be from now on?
My future is awesome. Me and my fiance plan on getting married tomorrow. But the only holdup is a little piece of paper that we're waiting for, and we're hoping to be married in the next day or two, because for us that's the beginning of the future. Is to get married, get baptized hopefully this month, and then work on getting to classes in the temple and getting sealed. That's our goal. And just and to be able to say that now, you know what I mean, is it's like, you know, it's like a dream come true. You run away from something all your life, and then now you run towards it. You know, I ran from the church for so long, and now I'm running towards it. I'm like, man, let's hurry up and let's get married. Let's hurry up and get baptized. Let's hurry up and get in the temple. And then we were talking to my Uncle Tuita, and he told us we're going to get sealed in the Payson temple because he's a sealer over there. He called me and Popo the other day. He goes, hey, when are you guys getting married? I said, hopefully in the next day or two. He's like, well, I'm going to let you guys know now, you will be sealed in the Payson temple. And like a good nephew, yes, Uncle, that's where we're going to get sealed. That's where we're going to get sealed. So, you know, just those things. I'll say this, since we've been here in Utah, me and Popo, we've had our little ups and downs, but, you know, I'll say this, when we're together, unstoppable. Unstoppable. I understand that with her in my life, I can't be beat, period. There's nothing that can stop me. I'm like Superman, bro. Straight up, you know.
All right. Well, thank you for your story, and thank you for your faith and your wisdom. What I seriously decide on manifests. And just remember that there's always time to have a happy childhood. And the key to joy and peace is to inspire others to greatness via love, service, sweetness, gratitude, laughter, choices, patience, and being. Thanks for having us tonight. Appreciate it, Wes. All right. That ought to do her.